One night, as a film projectionist who goes by the name of Joel Flickstein was cleaning and rewinding film reels in a hot basement of a movie theater called the 4-Star Theater. The cellulose from the celluloid in one film reel overheated all of a sudden, malfunctioning under a halogen light that caused it to melt and splatter in the eyes of the Joel. But little did he know, there was a presence of a supreme being in the atmosphere that soon fell upon him to make divine intervention for him, so he wouldn't lose his eyesight. Following this, a chemical reaction happened that gave Joel the superhero ability to re-enter any movie scene upon peradventures. That was for the sole purpose of interacting with the characters in the cinematic universe to obtain wise guidance and advice. Nevertheless, Joel also inherited the supernatural gifts of empathy, psychokinesis, extrasensory perception, telepathy, pyrokinesis, psychometry, and precognition. However, Joel was being watched as all eyes was on him, as he has an audience who are reading his thoughts in this second-run movie theater on the big screen, as if they were viewing text messages in a group chat without there being a cell phone in his midst. Additionally, this allows the audience to see Joel's life play out on the movie screen right in front of their very own eyes, as it was being re-scripted by the supreme being of the movie theater for the good. Although, Joel didn't find this out until he discovers that the movie theater that he works for has secrets of its own, and so forth. From the time that Joel has jumped into a film, the movie theater has begun to re-script his life through every genre and scene, making a movie out of his life for the purpose of saving itself from foreclosure. Thus, after flicking back to reality and undertaking an ogling process of becoming fully transformed in the character that the Supreme Being wants him to be from the inside out, he turns his hand to an idea to call himself Celluloid, taking on this divine alter ego who makes divine intervention for people through prayers of intercession, who turns the bad days of suicidal victims around for the good. Not to mention his costume looked futuristic, designed in transparent yellow that shows through a visual appearance of white noise on the back, biceps, and thighs. That's also designed with neon blue and orange. His emblem of a handicap symbol is displayed on his super prosthetic legs and arms armory. It also includes a tiny film projector that appears through a slit in the mohawk on his helmet, and an attached anti-splash eye protection multi-purpose Cyberone two-way mirror-style polycarbonate face shield on his headgear. It has an eraser that transfigures into a laser light force field shield with a butterfly emblem displayed on it. And it has a tritium neon yellow glow cube keychain that transfigures into a lightning bolt sword. Thus, Celluloid went on to work with the law enforcement to assist them on arduous unsolved cases as he fought crime and made divine intervention for suicide victims thereafter. And so, the Flix texting stories of a movie journey begins. As the projectionist, Joel Flickstein is splicing and rewinding film on the reels. He embarks upon an intuition to jump into the courageous movie with the actor Ben Davis in it as David Thompson. While inspecting films for breaks or imperfections, Joel Flickstein gets an idea to jump into the Twilight movie with actor Robert Pattinson in it as Edward Cullen. Moving on to fulfill his next duty at the movie theater, Joel Flickstein is keeping regular records. Until an intuition interrupts to woo him to jump in their Book of Eli movie with the actor Denzel Washington as Eli. Joel Flickstein's next duty as a projectionist is to perform minor maintenance of equipment. However, he gets distracted with an intuition, jumping in a movie with the actor Taylor Lautner as Jacob Black. When done with that task, Joel Flickstein manages curtain and screen controls as midway through the actress Winona Ryder is seen on a screen in one theater. He jumps into it as Valerie. Subsequently, the scene rewrites itself. When Joel Flickstein emerges from the film, he continues to manage the curtain and screen controls. When finished, Joel jumps into another scene with the actress Winona Ryder as Dr. Melvin Potts. Upon returning to reality, Joel Flickstein fulfills the task of inspecting films for imperfections, and later he jumps into the same scene with the actress Winona Ryder as Dr. Wicks. After bouncing back from the real world, Joel Flickstein inspects more films in the movie theater for tears, and jumps into the same scene but with the actress Angelina Jolie. Now during some downtime, Joel Flickstein is tuned into the 50 radio as he is listening to the public safety channel for Tulsa, Creek, Osage, Rogers, and Washington counties. Simultaneously, Joel is also looking out for the Tulsa police as he ponders a way to be of some service to them. Joel Flickstein gets the idea to be a first responder, and get to the bad guys before the law enforcers do to jump the bad guys into a horror movie scene. While this will teach the vigilantes a valuable lesson where their life can be rewritten for positive change, so Joel takes the idea back to work with him. Joel Flickstein arranges schedules for theater facilities upon return, and with movie quotes flooding his thoughts, he can't resist a fifth jump but in a scene with the actor Jeffrey Tambor as Susanna. When back, Joel Flickstein puts what he has learned to the plow as he keeps up with the regular movie report and records for the theater. Then Joel clocks out to take a lunch, but for a sixth jump into a scene with the actress Vanessa Redgrave in it as Dr. Wicks. On his return, Joel Flickstein utilizes the equipment needed to rewind films. He works on the Looper movie only to be intrigued to jump in a scene with the actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Returning again to reality, Joel Flickstein begins to operate special effects equipment during Twilight Eclipse movie, seduced by actress Nikki Reed, so he jumps in a scene. Flicking back into the real world, Joel Flickstein operates the audio-visual equipment as the Spider-Man movie plays. Aspired by actors Robert Downey Jr. and Tom Holland, he jumps in the scene. Now without further ado, welcome Joel Flickstein aka Celluloid as one of the newest members in the Avengers team. On return, Joel Flickstein sets out to fulfill his next task for the theater by preparing film for distribution, and one is the app movie that he jumps in a scene with actress Hannah Hoekstra, and so it rewrites. So, Joel Flickstein has taken on the alter ego Celluloid, who makes divine intervention for people that have terrorizing thoughts, by a vigilant app that's called Urus, in which he hooks up with the crisis text line, and together they help save people through their mobile device from experiencing a hot moment to bring a good day out of a bad one. The following morning, as Joel was opening the movie theater, then starts projectors and opens shutters to project images onto screens, he received this intuition to throw up an orison for the one person who attempts suicide every 38 seconds to be saved and canged into Celluloid to make intervention for them. When Joel returned, he starts inspecting movie films to ensure that they are complete and in good condition, until he gets an intuition to save suicidal and springs up into Celluloid. Moving on to fulfill his next duty after being back, Joel inspects projection equipment prior to operation in order to ensure proper working order, until an intuition interrupts and he springs up into Celluloid to save another from suicide. When Celluloid flicks back into the TH4-star theater as Joel his next duty of operating equipment in order to show films in a number of theaters simultaneously, until an intuition interrupts for him to spring up into Celluloid and save another person from suicide. When done with his last task, after jumping out of Celluloid's skin and into Joel Flickstein, he splices separate film reels, advertisements, and movie trailers together to form a feature-length presentation on one continuous reel. Until another intuition calls and he springs up into Celluloid again to save a suicidal. Joel arranges schedules for theater facilities upon return as movie quotes are flooding his thoughts. Then suddenly, just when Joel thinks he can rest from the intuitions and saving suicidals, he gets another one in a flash that causes him to spring up into Celluloid to make intervention. When he returns, Joel hangs up his Celluloid suit and fulfills the task of keeping up with the regular movie reports and records for the theater. After that, Joel clocks out to take a lunch, where he makes small talk with himself over a lunchbox and juice box. He returned to work when done shortly afterward. On the clock again, Joel utilizes the equipment required to rewind films and operates special effects equipment thereafter. He proceeds to close the facilities according to rules and schedules. When Joel closes the theater, and wheels himself home. While wheeling himself home in his wheelchair, Joel has a run-in with FBI's most wanted fugitive, Rafael Caro Quintero. Newspaper headlines: happening now, FBI Usums, and State Island addition of Rafael Caro Quintero to the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list. Caro Quintero is wanted for alleged involvement in the 1985 kidnapping and murder of DEA Special Agent Enrique C. Salazar. That's when Joel pulls out his cell phone and jumps Rafael and himself into a Saw movie to rewrite this perp's story with a puzzling game. But will it cause a heart change that'll lead to a surrender? The next day, while Joel opens the movie theater, he starts everything up, when suddenly an 8-year-old boy runs up to him with an Entertainment Weekly magazine opened up to a featured page, shouting, "Mr. Projectionist, look, I saw what you did." Joel takes the magazine from the boy's hands to find that a character in the Saw movie has made the FBI's most wanted fugitive, Rafael Caro Quintero, surrender. Joel sat pondering over the perplexity, saying, "If I wasn't Jigsaw, then who?" The boy sticks around to eavesdrop in on his thoughts, rolls his eyes and then turns tail to prance away mischievously, whistling as Joel shrugs his shoulders and returns to work. The end. At least. For now.